Every so often, I'll stumble across a game in my collection that turns out to be an absolute gem. I couldn't figure out why this PS2 game was forgotten, but I also might be slowly becoming immune to jank controls. Released on PS2 in US regions in 2003 and PAL regions in 2004, Kaya Dark Lineage is a third-person platforming action-adventure game, developed by Eden Games and published by Atari. It earned a 69 on Metacritic, with mixed reviews praising game mechanics for being ahead of their time, but criticizing the controls and camera for going haywire. One reason it may have been received badly was the market being oversaturated with games of the same genre, such as Ratchet and Clank going Commando and Up Your Arsenal, or Jak 2 and 3, which were released around the same time as Kaya. We start the game with Kaya being woken up by a breeze slamming her door. The mood is creepy, but Kaya seems to have some moves up her sleeve. She goes in search of Frank, her half-brother, who seems to have made a hole in the wall and found a secret room.
Kaya! Frank! What's going on? What happened to the wall?
I happened to it. Come here.
Frank places a strange object down, and weird, magical things begin to happen.
So what made you come down here?
A portal opens and sucks Frank and Kaya in. Kaya then wakes up surrounded by fuzzy creatures who lead her away from an oncoming band of trigger-happy enemies. These helpful guys are natives, and they bring Kaya to their village to speak to Atea, their leader. He tells us that natives have been turned into wolfens, the feral werewolves we were running away from, and that her father is responsible. They offer to help Kaya find Frank if she can help them in return. Once she does find Frank, they need to get a medallion that will open a portal back to their world, which also means defeating her father. I expected this to be just another action platformer with nothing really standing out. Man, was I wrong. The first part is one big tutorial on how mechanics work. And though that might sound boring, it was done so fluidly that you didn't even really need guidance. We follow a native through different areas, trying out puzzle solving, surfing, sneaking, and freefall, all within the space of 5 minutes. I expected the flying and surfing to be a little annoying or twitchy, but it was actually really well done. Yeah, there might be issues later in the game when things get harder, but as far as first impressions go, my interest was piqued. We're given a bracelet which makes us stronger and able to hit wolfens harder. And there are even combos we can use. Then we receive an awakening power, which enables us to exorcise any defeated wolfen and restore them to their native form. These exorcisms can only be done if we have enough orbs, which we pick up around levels. Each exorcism costs a different amount of orbs depending on the kind of wolfen we defeat. There are mini-games to play around the village and shops to visit, so we can buy items that enable us to unlock new areas or gear that gives us new abilities. Even though this is quite a small area, they give us a map, which is so helpful if, like me, you love wandering off and tend to get all turned around. There are also signs and arrows telling us where to go if we need to get to a specific place. Different shops open depending on how many natives we save, so the more exorcisms we do, the more we benefit. The levels are pretty open, and we can do a little bit of exploration, but ultimately we have to follow a linear path. Depending on which items we have, we can only access certain parts of the level, but we can always come back later and see what lies beyond the previously forbidden route. The art style is fun and fantastical, and the enemy style is always silly, no matter how scary they try to be. There are a lot of similarities with Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter, but I don't think that's a bad thing here. Kaya doesn't feel like a Wish version of those games, maybe more like a Diet Coke version. I loved the variety of ways we could get through levels. We have stealth parts, but if you fail them, you can just go crazy with combat. There are also parts where we need to kick creatures or use them to help us get to certain areas. And we have a little bat-like creature that gives us hints on where to go. The humour was perfect in this game. The Wolfen were menacing, but made out to be kinda dumb. The way we can use environments to get rid of some of them made me laugh out loud several times. And the fact that they continued the joke made it even better. The level design was interesting enough for me to want to explore, and getting rewarded for it just made it all the more satisfying. Once we get the magic board, we can surf along trees and find new places to explore. The surf mechanics were a little twitchy, but not enough to stop me from having fun. It didn't feel unfair when I hit an object, and every obstacle was obvious enough that I wasn't wondering whether to avoid it or not. This screamed early 2000s when I first saw the opening cutscene, but nowadays that holds a little novelty. The controls were solid, and the mechanics were great fun to play with. Yeah, the camera would have a tantrum every so often, but I think we're all used to that with 20-year-old games. The free-falling surprised me for being so easy to control. And the Wolfens are probably my new favourite video game enemies. The story is generic and kinda weak, but once you forget about it and just enjoy playing the game and exploring the levels, everything becomes way more fun. If you played all the Ratchet and Clanks or Jak and Daxters and you're after something different yet familiar, give Kaya Dark Lineage a go. It might surprise you. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.